In A Study in Scarlet, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle presents the brilliant detective Sherlock Holmes who uses calculated logic to solve mysteries. This reliance on reason often contrasts the intuitive methods of the other characters, most notably Dr. Watson. Through Holmes' systematic approach to detective work, Doyle illustrates a broader theme of logic and human intuition. A Study in Scarlet reveals that logic clashes with human intuition. Doyle encapsulates that human intuition often leads to misleading conclusions, especially when one is too quick to accept things at face value. The clash between logic and intuition is particularly evident here. Holmes argues that there is nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact, suggesting that when people rely solely on their intuitive sense of what seems obvious, they often miss what is really going on. Intuition, in this context, tends to oversimplify, allowing individuals to be fooled by surface-level appearances. Holmes approaches facts with skepticism and a critical eye. He understands that what appears obvious may be a carefully constructed illusion. This analytical approach leads him to uncover hidden details that others might overlook. In the novel, this is seen in Holmes's ability to see through the assumptions of others, like Watson, who often rely on their intuition. For example, Watson initially assumes that the relationship between a character's circumstances and motivations is straightforward. But Holmes uncovers a far more intricate and unexpected truth. In this way, Holmes's logic contrasts the dangers of relying solely on intuition. Holmes further demonstrates the tension between logic and intuition when he comments, "The world is full of obvious things which nobody ever observes." Holmes is a master of observation. He trains himself to notice the minor details that others would dismiss as unimportant or irrelevant. For instance, Holmes often takes note of seemingly trivial facts, such as the state of a person's shoes or the exact positioning of a piece of furniture, that ultimately prove pivotal in solving a case. This reflects how logic, unlike intuition, requires the observer to discard preconceived notions and look at the world through a more analytical and unbiased lens. When Sherlock says, "When you have eliminated all which is impossible, then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth," it further emphasizes the superiority of logic over intuition. Unlike intuition, which may lead to conclusions based on emotion, bias, or flawed reasoning, logic demands that the detective eliminate all impossible explanations until only one remains, no matter how improbable it may seem. This process of elimination requires a methodical, systematic approach, relying on evidence rather than intuition. It contrasts sharply with the intuitive method of jumping to conclusions based on gut feelings or preconceived notions. Watson's initial approach to solving mysteries relies more on instinct and human empathy, whereas Holmes remains detached, focusing entirely on the facts. Throughout, Sherlock Holmes's logical approach contrasts the intuitive reasoning of other characters, particularly Dr. Watson. Holmes's deduction method is built on observation, analysis, and elimination principles, while human intuition is prone to error and misdirection. These quotes reveal how the tension between logic and intuition shapes the narrative of the novel. Ultimately suggests that while intuition can sometimes lead to insight, logic provides the most reliable path to truth. Holmes' ability to see beyond surface appearances, reject misleading assumptions, and systematically eliminate the impossible demonstrates the power of reason in uncovering the real facts. As readers, we are invited to question our own intuitive beliefs and embrace a more analytical view of the world, just as Holmes does in every case he solves.